Welcome back to the Republic Brothers Podcast. He's Matt, I'm Mike. Today's March 18th, 2026, and this is episode 43. Before we get into the show, please hit the subscribe button and like the episode so you don't miss our next episode on Monday. Tucker Carlson might be in some hot water. Gavin Newsom thinks taxes in California are lower than Texas and Florida. We got some Iran war updates, and in case you didn't know, the Oscars were Sunday night. Let's get started. All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about Tucker Carlson a lot lately. It seems like the last 2 or 3 episodes we've mentioned something crazy about him or something that he said. Well, Tucker might have gotten himself into some trouble this time. Tucker is claiming that the government is looking to charge him under the Foreign Agents Registration Act due to his communication and interviews with Iranian officials prior to the war. Now, I was thinking about playing part of Tucker's clip, like from his channel, discussing this, but instead I want to play a clip from Brandon Tatum and the Officer Tatum show talking about the whole thing because I really like the way he broke this down. Take a listen.
Oh, how I would be elated if Tucker Carlson went to jail with his sorry American-hating self. But I really want to know, is this a hoax? Is he, Tucker Smollett, trying to deploy this victim mentality so we can feel sorry for him for being stupid enough to interview all of these weirdos, being dumb enough to get caught in Israel lying about his experience at the airport? Come on, bro.
So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war.
Tucker Carlson is a disgrace to America. Tucker Carlson is a disgrace to journalists all around the country. He's not even a real journalist. He's fell off the cliff. I'm telling you guys, and I will say this again, every single person that goes and has Israel derangement syndrome, they tend to go crazy in every other aspect of their lives. Whether it's conspiracies, whether you name it, they losing it. And Tucker is the prime person in this. As big and most expansive as his platform is and was, why is he acting like this? Let me just give you an example. I guess he's potentially in trouble with the CIA. Now I'm gonna tell you this: just like these other influencers that are hoodwinking you, of course they're gonna come out and say these things to become relevant again. Once they look stupid by faking a TSA disaster in Israel, acting as if they had him in the back room strip searching him, and that became a lie. He do nothing to interview idiots every time he puts somebody on because they hate Israel. Now he got to be the victim. The CIA is after me. Is it real? Is it true? CIA, DOJ, I never heard anything from them. Could he be making this up? I wouldn't be shocked. Roll the clip.
So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me.
Before he continues, my question I have for him is, how did you find this out?
Crime report to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids.
Time out. Shut your lying self up. I'm going to let him finish. I promise you lying. It's funny how he say he's not a foreign acting agent, and neither is AIPAC. But it's funny that you continue to push that every single day of the week, that AIPAC is somehow acting as a foreign agent, which they're not. That's why they're not registered in FARA. Anyway, finish the clip.
So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it. And that's provable. And moreover,
you know, let me tell y'all something real quick. I swear I'm going to stop talking. But if I wait to the end of the clip, I'm going to forget it. He said he hasn't taken money from anywhere. He literally got like a $17 or $14 million startup investment into his Tucker Carlson news network. From a person, I guess the person he's a Middle Eastern. He may be an American citizen, but it's still. He's in Doha and Qatar doing speeches on stage. Like, let me tell you how people get around that claim. I've never taken money. Yeah, Tucker Carlson have not taken money, but that does not mean TCN haven't taken money. I want y'all to be very clear about this. Somebody could look at you in the eye and say, I never taken any money, but an organization that you own takes the money. No one in our industry gets paid directly. People do not pay Brandon Tatum. They don't pay me. They pay one of my companies, my entities. They pay the Officer Tatum if I'm doing work for the Officer Tatum or any of these other companies. They pay the company. They don't pay Brandon Tatum. I don't own none of this stuff. I have companies that own the companies, if that makes sense to you. That's how these fools can get away with saying that, even though they know they took money from these foreign governments.
Now, there's a lot to unpack here. So let's talk about this question first. Is it plausible that he would actually find out that the CIA was referring him to the DOJ for charges? Now, I could be wrong, but that doesn't seem like something they would tell you.
They wouldn't tell you, but he may have insider information. It is not a secret that he is paid by the Russians. Of course, he claims he can say anything he wants, but do you believe that is true when Vladimir Putin is the one signing your paycheck? Russia probably has someone inside the U.S. government that tipped him off to it. You can't rule that out. Spying is a real thing and every country does it.
Well, Tucker said that he hasn't taken any money from anyone. And then Brandon Tatum said something that really interested me. So are you buying that Tucker didn't take any money from anyone? Did Tatum expose the real truth and that Tucker Carlson didn't take any money, but Tucker Carlson Network did, and that's how he's skirting around it and saying that he didn't actually take any money? I've heard a lot of people say that Tucker's getting paid by Russia, the Middle East, China, all kinds of places.
He is getting paid by the Russian government. How do you think Tucker got a 2-hour interview with Vladimir Putin? And if you didn't see that interview, it was not journalism. He did not challenge Putin once in 2 hours, despite the fact that Putin made many false claims. Tucker asked Putin a question and let Putin go on for 30 minutes uninterrupted, despite the fact that he made quite a few false claims and his version of history wasn't all that accurate. Tucker presumably owns the Tucker Carlson network, so he definitely took money from the Russians.
Now, what I find most ridiculous is the claim that the government is spying on him. Now, I think it's much more likely that they were spying on the Iranian officials that he was talking to, and then he said something that he shouldn't have. I think it's fair to say that Tucker's just trying to get out in front of some bad PR.
They were most likely spying on Russian officials first, and that's when they first came across him. Given it is the CIA, yes, they are most likely spying on him. Given all the claims we've heard about Russia, and then add in Iran, he's almost certainly being listened to. This goes back to a point you make sometimes, Mike, where you say the narrative is more important than the facts, and that is what this is to me. Control the narrative now so your legitimacy doesn't take too much damage when charges come.
Yeah, it's just the way that he opened that show as well, and the way he said, "Oh, I don't understand why they're doing this." I don't have anything against Tucker per se. I just don't like to listen to him talk for some reason. Like, he was fine when he was on Fox News, but now I could not sit through his entire show.
For someone who claims to be America first, he is on the side of the Islamists or the dictators very often. That's not America first. They don't share our interests or our values, so it's tough to see how that's America first, and he has not made a good argument for why it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are coming to his defense, too. We posted a clip online last week where we were talking about Tucker saying that the unconditional surrender meant that our troops get to go in and rape and murder Iranian citizens. And some guy commented on it immediately and was attacking us for being critical of Tucker. Like, the guy couldn't believe how we could be in favor of this war with Iran, completely flipped the conversation away from what Tucker said. And I kept responding to the guy saying, man, what does that have to do with his claim that we're going to go in and rape and murder people?
It has absolutely nothing to do with it. I've seen clips of Democrats in the U.S. saying they had more in common with radical Islamists than with MAGA supporters. You are talking about people who do not understand the way other people think. Some of the people that were with radical Islam were gay or lesbian, and they are completely unaware of what would happen to them. If the Queers for Palestine group went to Gaza, they would be thrown off the roof or shot. Someone did go to Gaza and asked a Hamas member what they would do with a gay person, and he said they would let Allah judge, and they'll arrange your meeting with him. It is illegal to be gay in most Middle Eastern nations. The only one you won't face any consequences for is Israel. People don't understand just how anti-gay or lesbian most nations in the Middle East are. The other point I want to make here is anytime you see something come out in the media, ask yourself who wanted it to come out. How do you think Tucker got an interview with the leaders of Iran and Russia? Who do you think wanted those interviews?
Yeah, that goes back to something that you've said several times, is that anytime something like this happens, you always have to ask yourself, why did this happen? Why now? What is the message that they're actually trying to send?
And who wanted that information to come out?
Yeah, basically, what's the angle, right? So, was Tucker fake when he was on Fox News, or is he fake now? Which Tucker is the real Tucker?
I very much see him the way you described Gavin Newsom a few episodes ago. He's a chameleon. He'll say whatever he needs to for that paycheck. The check is signed by the Russians at the moment, so he's on their side. But when he was at Fox News, he was on the Republican side. He'll say whatever it takes to get that paycheck. If you truly believed what a Republican believes, and it wasn't that long ago, less than 10 years ago, if you believe that, you could not parrot what the Russians or the Iranians want.
Yeah, I think you're right. I am starting to get that impression from him. He's a snake in the grass, just like Gavin Newsom. He will say whatever he needs to say based on the person that is sitting in front of him.
And the day the Russians or the Iranians offer us money to take it, if my partner in crime over here, Michael, decides we're going to take it, I am out.
I don't think you got to worry about that.
Good to hear.
All right, that's enough about Tucker. I want to get into this next story. This one it's kind of weird to talk about, and it kind of, I don't know, it makes me mad just talking about it, to be honest. That is the controversial case of Israel Flores Ortiz, a 19-year-old from El Salvador. He has brought significant national attention to immigration and sanctuary policies in Fairfax County, Virginia. Flores Ortiz, who was enrolled as an 11th grade student at a local high school, faces 9 counts of assault and battery. Again, I'll say that slow so you get it. 19-year-old, 11th grade student. According to reports from local law enforcement and the Department of Homeland Security, he is accused of repeatedly groping multiple underage girls in crowded school hallways. Talk about a creep. Victims described him creeping up behind them and grabbing them between the legs. Again, a 19-year-old 11th grader. The political flashpoint stems from his immigration status, though. Flores Ortiz reportedly entered the U.S. illegally in 2024 and was released pending proceedings. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has issued a detainer asking Fairfax County authorities to notify them before releasing him so that he can be taken into federal custody for deportation. Federal officials have publicly criticized Fairfax County sanctuary politicians and Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. They allege that local policies impede cooperation with ICE, raising concerns that Flores Ortiz could be released back into the community instead of being deported. Now, the principal wrote a letter to the parents. Here's what that letter said, and then the school district's reaction when asked for comment on the arrest.
An 18-year-old illegal immigrant released under the Joe Biden administration is charged with 9 counts of assault and battery for allegedly groping female classmates in the halls of Fairfax High School in Virginia. The principal wrote a letter to parents saying, quote, "We are writing to share the news of the recent arrest of a student who was charged with inappropriately touching other students at school. These incidents involved the student touching students' buttocks while they were transitioning in the hallways." Stephanie Lundquist Aurora is the mother of 3 students in the Fairfax County school system and the Fairfax chapter leader of the Independent Women's Network and a contributor for Independent Women Features. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Stephanie. This student was, the parents were not alerted about what happened with these students until several weeks later and until the parents started complaining to the school. Is that correct?
It's true, and it's really shocking because my son attends a middle school where there was racist language used, which is undoubtedly a problem, but we were notified immediately when that happened. And in this case, sexual assault, the school principal waited 2 weeks to alert the community, and that was only after pressure from the parents. Really, Rachel, I think this entire horrifying situation is the direct consequence of policy with really dysfunctional priorities, and that's to shield illegal immigrants at the expense of children's safety, even in their public schools.
So let me explain this to our viewers a little bit more clearly. An illegal can come into or register into the public schools with 0 documentation. Is that correct?
That's absolutely the case.
So we don't know how old they are. They could be 25 and just look young.
That's right. In the school policy, the district policy is that they can attend Fairfax County Public Schools at the taxpayer's expense until they are 22 years old. So even if they look, if they look 22 and maybe not even then, they're not seeking their documentation because by definition, this is by design, they're undocumented. So we have no idea how old a lot of these people are.
I want to read you what the Fairfax high school said, because we reached out to the Fairfax High School and the school district. They did not give us a statement, but they did tell the local news, Channel 7 in Virginia, this. They said, while Fairfax County Public Schools is unable to comment on specifics due to federal and state privacy laws, we prioritize student and staff safety. We fully investigate anytime someone shares that an incident has occurred at school or that they do not feel safe at school.
This right here is exactly what ICE is trying to prevent. They are trying to prevent people who are not supposed to be here from committing crimes against U.S. citizens, especially against underage U.S. citizens. Now, I get it. You don't have to be here illegally to commit a crime. That's true. But this should be one less person that was here and one less person crazy enough to grope a bunch of teenage girls in the hallway of a school that he shouldn't be at in the first place. Again, this kid is 19 years old. He's an adult, and he's in a school full of children, full of teenage girls grabbing their butts in the hallway. How would any parent react if that was your daughter? And how would you react if the person wasn't an illegal immigrant? The way anyone could be defending this is crazy. How in the world do Democrats justify letting people like this into our country and then fight for them to stay here?
It is stunning. It's almost like they think we're the greatest nation in the world, and because they come from a place that's not as great, they're victims and they should be welcomed in. Yet every time they talk to the media, they bash the country as if we're a terrible place to live. It doesn't make any sense. If you come here illegally, you have already broken the laws of the nation you want to live in. That tells us you may not follow the other laws as well. It really seems to me the Democrats have lost sight of who they are serving. The American citizens should be the priority, and the main priority should be the safety and prosperity of those voters. Like it or not, an illegal immigrant hurts every American in the country. You wouldn't notice one illegal immigrant coming in, but when you do what Joe Biden did and bring in millions, it increases the cost of everything for everyone. We are a capitalist nation, and you now have more competition for goods and housing. And the crappy part of all of that is our tax dollars are what fund some of the illegal immigrants. They use government programs funded by the taxpayer to compete for goods and housing against American taxpayers.
You know, it's funny you bring that up too, because it's related, but at the same time it's not related. I saw a stat today that said that New York City spends more money per homeless person in the city than the median household income. They spend more money on homeless people than the average person makes in New York City.
Well, if they're giving you free money, why not spend it, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of related because we see these places with these sanctuary cities where these illegal immigrants go, and then they're taking tax money away from people that earn that money, paid taxes, people that have a right to be there, people that actually belong.
And look, you can't really blame the illegal immigrant that much for spending the money. If I gave you a debit card and said, hey, there's 30 grand on this card, by the way, we might grab you and throw you out of the country at any point. You're probably going to have a good time while you're here. You're not going to be overly concerned about wasting anything, knowing you might get grabbed and deported. That's why they don't care about what they spend the money on.
Yeah, I saw another clip from a comedian as well. He was making a joke about how the people that are here illegally, they're not even as mad when they get caught as these liberal people are mad for them. Like, they get caught and they go, oh, well, I knew it was going to happen. I got busted, and now I'm on my way out of here. They accept that is a possibility.
They were more aware that they broke the law than the people who are defending them.
Yeah, they understand that they broke the law. They understand that they're not supposed to be here. So they're not surprised when ICE shows up and says, hey, you got to go. As we heard in the clip too, illegal immigrants can attend school in Fairfax County with no documentation. They just show up and start going to class, basically. That is absolutely insane. But you need multiple IDs to shovel snow in New York. And imagine it like this. You're a parent of a 15-year-old freshman girl at high school, and she comes home and tells you that some 19-year-old kid grabbed her butt in the hallway. And then the principal reaches out to you and doesn't even really say anything about it. And the school district says, yeah, we have no comment. Like, realize your audience here. Who are you really supposed to be protecting? You're choosing the wrong side here.
Well, Trump proved that very well in the State of the Union when he asked people to stand up if they serve the American people. Democrats couldn't do it. The people that put them in power weren't their main priority. You need an ID to pick up tickets to the local baseball team where we live. But you can be around children without them knowing who you truly are in Virginia. I didn't have strong feelings towards Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. She ran as a moderate, but has shown her true colors. I wonder if voters in Virginia have buyer's remorse yet.
Well, the Democrats can't admit when they're wrong. So the only people that are going to actually say they have buyer's remorse are the people that are in the middle. Honestly, it's the same thing with Trump, right? Like, the people that are coming out against him now and saying that this Iran war was a bad idea is not the MAGA loyal people. It's not loyal Republicans. It's the people that were in the middle that voted for him. They're the ones that are upset.
Well, yes, the simple reality is about 10% of the electorate decide the election every year. There's a lot of people that are hardwired into their political party, and there's nothing that can change that will get them to switch. It's really about winning the independents, and that's the hardest part to do because they will switch sides.
Yeah, my wife has asked me multiple times about the podcast and like the stuff that you and I have said on here. And she has asked me if there's anything that, we're ever critical of or we don't agree with what Trump did. And I told her there's been multiple times where you and I have been critical of something that Trump has done. And the main thing I point to was the 20-point peace plan that we talked about, where we both said it was garbage, right? Like, we can criticize things that Trump has done, but that does not mean that I would ever vote for a Democrat. Now, there are always going to be cases where someone that you voted for and whatever side you're on is going to make decisions that you don't agree with. But there is nothing on the left side of the aisle that I feel like I could vote for, to be honest.
I always find it interesting when the left says the right is a cult. And yet the left is able to get every member of Congress to step in line and vote exactly how party leadership wants them to, while the right can almost never pull that off. Which side is really the cult?
Yeah, exactly. And just like you said, we saw it at the State of the Union. There were people there, they were told what to stand for and what not to stand for. The only person that didn't get the memo was John Fetterman. He was the only one that said, yeah, nobody told me what to stand for and what not to stand for. He's the only one of them that's got any brains. All the rest of them, they just know I'm either supposed to have this position or this position, and they're never going to break from it. The Democrats are the party that does not have an original thought.
Agreed. Fetterman was the only one that could think for himself. Everyone else took the party message and went with it.
Yeah, and that included not standing for the mother of Irina Zarutska, if you'll recall. All right, we've been going on that one for a little while. That's a pretty emotionally charged topic. Let's get started with our Operation Epic Fury updates. I want to start with a statement from President Trump about NATO.
All of the NATO allies agreed with us, but they don't want to, despite the fact that we help them so much, we have thousands of soldiers in different countries all over the world, and they don't want to help us, which is amazing. I mean, amazing. And I didn't do a full court press because I think if I did, they probably would be. But we don't need help. We've that war has been long prosecuted as far as I'm concerned, almost from day one. We knocked out many of these things. We knocked out the Navy essentially in a couple of days. But I was surprised to see that NATO, while they agree that it was a very important thing to do, they agree fully. Nobody said, oh, you shouldn't do it. I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake. And I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test. Because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
All right, Matt. So that being said, why are none of these countries willing to help? What do you think about the people who say that we should just leave NATO?
We should not leave NATO. We get tremendous benefits from NATO in the event of war. In the event of war, where Article 5 is used, all European nations will transfer control over their militaries to one central authority, and that will be the United States. It is illegal under our Constitution for us to transfer our military to somebody else's control. Everyone else will give their military to us for us to control. That is the main upside. So if there's ever another war in Europe, we have the additional firepower of the European militaries already over there. We can use those to our advantage and buy our own military time to get there. The truth is, most NATO nations do not have the ability to project power that far from home. Some do, France, for example. I have said on this podcast before, most European nations saw the fall of the Soviet Union as the last ever fight they would have. So they let us do the spending on military defense while they spent on social programs. They would then turn around and lecture us about our social programs while we were protecting them from Russia. Europe thought the days of empires were over, but they were wrong. The other part of this is immigration. Keir Starmer in the UK is the perfect example. What was the first thing Keir said after the strikes against Iran started? He said we had nothing to do with it. He said that because his party needs the vote of the Muslims. He can't risk losing them, so he tried to stay out of it. The simple reality is most European countries would be wise to join our side. The bigger picture here is the U.S. versus China, and these two countries represent 50% of the world's economy. For small to mid-sized powers, it really is pick a side or get crushed.
So why do you think there's a lot of people that say we should leave NATO? Because I think a lot of people get the impression that when something like this happens and they don't want to come and help us, it seems like we're benefiting them, but they're not doing anything to earn our help.
I want to ask you a question and then I'll answer that. What should an ally do for you? Why should a country be an ally of yours?
I mean, I kind of liken it to what is a true friend. Are they willing to back you up in your time of need?
There's quite a few different angles you should take when you think about an ally. Let's say you and I are the leaders of different nations, and you are one of many European nations that's an absolute freeloader. I spend on defense, and you can't win a war without me, but when I ask you if I can land my airplanes at your airbase, and you say no, what's the benefit to me? An ally should share your values and your interests. Most European nations do. The big problem is none of them are willing to stick their necks out to help us out of fear of the millions and millions of illegal immigrants they brought in from the Middle East. I am not one who's going to sit here and say we should leave NATO. I don't think we should. But the reason people say that is because we don't get a whole lot of benefit from most of our NATO allies. The UK's military is a shell of itself, and politically they are as weak as they have ever been. France still has a military, and they're willing to use it occasionally, so at least they bring some value. Poland is on our side. They are stockpiling weapons like crazy for the fight against Russia that they think may be coming soon. Those are the kind of nations you want on your side. Most of them simply aren't. I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but Spain just granted citizenship to 500,000 illegal immigrants, most of them from the Middle East.
Well, what is that you said on the last podcast? If you import the third world, you will become it.
Yeah, Spain's already not doing so well, and this will not help them.
All right, let's move on to our next clip here. I want to play a clip from Bill Maher where he was talking to Josh Shapiro. Check this out.
Your fellow Pennsylvanian, John Fetterman, he's one of the few people in the party who has come out and said, look, I don't understand that everybody in my party said we can't allow Iran to have nuclear weapons, and yet when we do something about it, they're against it. Now, our chief negotiator said they were talking to Iran up until the war started. He said their opening salvo was at the negotiations. We're a couple of weeks away from having 11 bombs. They were bragging about it. If you were the president and you got that information, you'd still do nothing?
I never said...
I'm asking.
No, what I would do, and what the president of the United States failed to do, was be clear with the American people about what the hell we were doing here. Was the plan to go after the nuclear weapons? The weapons, by the way, he said were destroyed 7 months ago, pardon me. Was the plan to go and do regime change, in which case, who the hell is going to take over? I don't think the son's any better than the father. Was the plan to go in there later, but then you got forced because Netanyahu forced your hand? Remember they said that?
So it's a matter of clarity.
Walked that back. I think if you don't have clarity on why you're going in, you have no way of knowing how the hell to get out.
Now, Bill Maher is a great listen. He seems a lot like Stephen A. Smith in that he can question everyone, and even though we may not agree with him on everything, he seems to be pretty level-headed and open to a discussion. Now, in this clip, though, specifically, Bill questions Josh Shapiro on his confusion. Democrats have been saying that Iran can't have nuclear weapons, so why are they mad that Trump did something about it? Shapiro then goes on to blame it on communication, but that is complete BS. Trump, Hegseth, and Rubio have been saying the objectives of the mission from day one.
The mission was clear, and that was to ensure Iran never got a nuclear weapon. Iran was building a massive missile and drone arsenal to make the cost of intervention on our part very high when they tried to build the nuclear weapon. This is why we went now. Israel is the one after regime change, while the U.S. wants to destroy their military. Policy for the U.S. government has been that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon for 50 years. Trump is the one in charge when action needed to be taken. As we have seen many times, some people just can't accept anything Trump does as good. They would rather root against America than let Trump get a win politically.
Let's touch on Joe Kent's resignation for a few minutes here. March 17th, 2026, Joe Kent resigned as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. In a resignation letter posted to social media, Kent cited several core reasons for his decision. He stated that he, quote, cannot in good conscience support the conflict, asserting that Iran posed no imminent threat to the United States. He argued that the current war was a trap that served no benefit to the American people. He also claimed that the U.S. was pressured into the conflict by the Israel lobby and a misinformation campaign by high-ranking Israeli officials, comparing the situation to the lead-up to the Iraq War. President Trump and other senior officials quickly pushed back on Kent's claims.
Your Director of National Counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it.
Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt and House Speaker Mike Johnson both stated that Trump had compelling evidence of an imminent Iranian threat. Administration sources also claimed that Kent had been cut out of high-level intelligence briefings on Iran months ago, suggesting that he lacked the full context for the strikes.
The president spoke on this a little bit yesterday in the Oval Office. He said he always thought Joe Kent was a good guy, obviously has a commendable military record and experience. However, he was not someone who was involved in the presidential daily brief, part of the president's intelligence briefings over the last several months. Have not seen him here at the White House for quite some time, and the president feels it's deeply disappointing.
And here we go again with blaming Israel. Why does that seem like everyone's go-to these days? Do we really think that Israel has that much influence on America?
Iran was absolutely an imminent threat. As Trump has said, they've been killing Americans for 47 years with no consequences, and they were trying to get what Oppenheimer described as the destroyer of worlds. That could not happen. This was always coming, whether people like to hear that or not. As far as blaming Israel, look, blaming someone else is easier than looking in the mirror. It's a bit wild to me how many people think the Jews are controlling the world. There are a little under 16 million Jews in the world, which is less than 0.2% of the world's population. If 0.2% of the world's population can control 8 billion people, they are far and away the smartest people in the world.
Yeah, you would think that most people would blame everything on Christians, since that would be the largest religion, right?
Well, in a way they do. I mean, Christianity is seen as the root of all evils in the Western world, even though the Western world is far more prosperous and healthy than other nations and other religions.
Yeah, that seems like a much easier argument to make than, like you said, trying to say that 0.2% of the world controls everyone else.
Yeah, the math just doesn't work. 16 million people are controlling over 8 billion. Do you really think they have the resources for that? Keeping in mind the country of Israel only has a population of about 8 million.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like much of a world beater. All right, let's move off of Operation Epic Fury. Let's get into our next topic here. New reports from Just the News indicate that U.S. intelligence agencies were aware as early as 2020 that Chinese intelligence officials had accessed and analyzed voter registration data from multiple American states. A declassified National Intelligence Council memo from April 2020 confirms that this analysis was conducted to gauge public opinion ahead of the 2020 general election. Although voter registration data is separate from actual ballots, it includes sensitive personal details such as driver's license numbers and partial Social Security numbers. The article claims that the CIA and other agencies actively blocked efforts to fully brief then-President Trump and Congress on the extent of China's activities. Christopher Porter, a former NIC officer, stated that he was fired during the Biden administration after raising concerns about the legal obligation to share these reports with congressional oversight. This alleged U.S. response contrasts sharply with Great Britain's, which publicly denounced a global scandal after its voter databases were hacked by China, while U.S. intelligence supposedly kept similar findings confidential. Dissenting officials argue the evidence suggests that China played a more active role in trying to swing the election, even though the intelligence community officially maintains that China only positioned itself for influence and did not overtly interfere to change votes. In related findings, the report also cites FBI and DOJ evidence concerning Chinese spamouflage campaigns and the seizure of thousands of counterfeit U.S. driver's licenses originating from China and Hong Kong during the 2020 election cycle. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe also reportedly are working to declassify further documents to clarify China's actions and determine which U.S. government officials were aware of them. So, Matt, what does all that mean?
Well, should you be happy about anything you just said? No. But as an average person, if you had a TikTok account before the final deal was made in 2025, where it was partially sold, China already had all of your data. In the terms of service prior to 2024, there was a keystroke tracking agreement, which meant they could track every letter you typed on every device you owned or was linked to your email you used to create your TikTok account. They had everyone's data years ago. You should not be happy about that. China will always do this, in part because who the next president of each country is affects their long-term plans across multiple regions. They try to influence who our president is to their benefit. No secret China wanted Biden and then Kamala. We should take every step possible to ensure foreign nations are not influencing our elections. The American population should vote for what is best for them. It's interesting that Joe Biden covered it up with China when we had Russiagate for 4 years, where they said Russia influenced the election to help Trump. It's not new. We all know that was a hoax. It would be nice if our government were open and honest about it, but every government wants to remain in power. The way that is done in a democracy is different to a dictatorship. They all do it. I wouldn't recommend anyone trust any government. There is a reason our founding fathers said the Second Amendment was to defend ourselves against enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yep, and that's just like you say all the time. The worst thing you can hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Those are the scariest words anyone can hear.
Let's move on to another scary topic, and that is potential Democratic nominee for president in 2028. Yikes. Governor Gavin Newsom claims that California's tax burden is actually lower than that of Republican-led states like Texas and Florida. Hold your laugh until I finish, Matt. Newsom made the claim on stage at the SXSW conference Sunday in Austin, Texas, claiming to attendees that Texas taxes poor folk more than we tax our richest, which is probably the second stupidest thing Gavin has done in the last few months. Number one, of course, being when he called a bunch of people in Atlanta stupid and said that he couldn't read.
We have the most progressive tax rates in America. Texas, the most regressive. Texas taxes poor folks more than we tax our richest. The question for you is, who's the higher tax state? California or Texas? Who are you for? Are you just for the 1%? Or are you for the 99%? And so our whole approach, that's what a progressive tax. Florida is the other regressive tax state. Your middle class pay more taxes in Texas than our middle class in California. It's a great mythology. It's just the richest of the rich come here because they can avoid paying a damn penny.
Now, I know Gavin and the Democrats can't see this, but maybe he should stop picking up a microphone for a little while. Critics and independent tax analysts accused Newsom of cherry-picking data to suggest that California is more affordable than its red state rivals. While California has a progressive income tax system where lower income earners pay very little, the state has the highest top marginal income tax rate in the country at over 13%. Newsom frequently cites studies suggesting that when property taxes and sales taxes are combined, middle-class families in Texas actually pay a higher effective tax rate than those in California. Of course, Newsom ignores all the important stuff, though. Even if the effective tax rate were comparable, the absolute cost of housing, utilities, and gas is significantly higher in California. California has the highest state-level sales tax and gas tax in the United States, which disproportionately affects the middle and lower classes. People aren't leaving Texas and Florida to move to California. It's the other way around, and the numbers prove it.
It was hard to maintain my laugh there. This was the most absurd thing I heard all week. I put this on the list of topics for us for this podcast, and you did the research because you came across it yourself. It's tough to say a state like California or New York has a lower tax burden when New York City's budget proposal was $122 billion, which was more than the entire state of Florida. Florida has more than 3 times the population, yet has a smaller budget and lower income from taxes. That's a stunning take from Gavin Newsom. California is the same, and the part they leave off, of course, is all the regulation. If you want to do anything, you need to spend years of time and thousands to millions of dollars in legal and lawyers' fees. That part isn't included in the taxes, but it does hit the people's wallets. As you said, people are leaving California, and they almost always go to lower tax states. And if you haven't heard, California is looking to pass a wealth tax. Democrats in the state want it. Gavin Newsom, for his part, has said he will not vote for it and he will not sign off on it. But the fear is they're warming it up for Gavin Newsom to be president so that they can do a national wealth tax and get everybody in it so that wealthy people can't run away from it. The wealth tax is driving people out of California in record numbers, and it hasn't even passed yet.
Yeah. When have you ever heard a person say, I want to move to California because they have low taxes? You don't hear that. You hear people say Florida, Tennessee, and Texas because there's no state income tax. How can you sit here in front of all these people and say that you have lower taxes than 2 states with no state income tax?
Vegas as well, because Nevada has no state income tax.
Yep. Yeah, no one is saying, oh, yeah, I want to move to California to save money on my taxes. That is not happening.
Yeah, cost of living in California is ridiculous, and it is completely driven by policy. They could have avoided it. They chose not to.
Yeah, so once again, swing and a miss, Gavin. Try again. All right, before we get into our blind ranking, let's talk about the good and the bad at the Oscars. Don't worry, Matt. I know you didn't watch it, so I brought a few clips for you. Let's start with the bad.
These Hollywood actresses are so stunning and brave. Man, Sharithra Shrandin decided to pop off on Donald Trump, red carpet at the Oscars, demanding that the president end the war in Gaza right now. A ceasefire right now demanded by this actress. Listen.
What we are demanding is a ceasefire in Gaza.
So brave.
And I think that I am so blessed to have a platform, and this is the least I can do to use it. And like, sometimes the news cycle is so fast and people move on, but the people in Gaza and the West Bank are still suffering. So yeah, it's just bringing attention to that.
You see, the only problem here, Sharithra, is that Donald Trump already did that. You see, there's been a ceasefire in place since October 2025. President Trump negotiated this. In fact, I mean, it really started over a year ago, and it's now been on the books. So you going to thank Donald Trump next in a public post? I mean, he did give you what you wanted. You going to wear a red MAGA hat to your next red carpet? You going to say thank you? Are you going to say thank you? I won't hold my breath.
Well, I did not watch the Oscars, and I never have. As she's talking in the clip, my first thought was she didn't get the update on messaging. It was supposed to be an F-Ice or a Praise Khamenei pin. Someone didn't get the memo. It just shows me they are uninformed. This is why the average person doesn't listen to celebrities when it comes to politics. There was a ceasefire in Gaza months ago.
Yeah, as soon as she said the word ceasefire, I said, oh no, she's about to mess up and she doesn't even realize it. And then she said it, and I thought, wow. And the sad part is, she said something so stupid on TV in this interview, and no one probably even said anything to her about it. I would be shocked if somebody pulled her to the side and was like, hey, by the way, there's been a ceasefire for months. Like, you probably shouldn't have said that. I doubt anyone even told her.
No chance they said anything about it to her. They'll give her the next message at the next meeting or whenever it is, and they'll say, here's the line, parrot it. You don't need to know anything about it. The more you know, the worse it is for Democrats, because the more you know, the more you realize they're wrong.
Yeah, she was probably commended for what she said. Somebody probably came up to her and praised her for what she said. That's the sad thing. Now, this next clip I have for you is not real. Disclaimer, this clip is AI, but it made me laugh. For anyone listening who has not seen it, it is Conan O'Brien announcing an award for Ilhan Omar. Then it shows Omar on stage holding an Oscar and a banana and accepting her award.
And the Oscar for Best Performance in Fooling U.S. Immigration for a Visa goes to Ilhan Omar!
This role took real commitment. The chemistry with my co-star brother, fooling those immigration officers, pure method acting. This is for every pirate, dreamer. Somalia, I love you!
Every pirate, dreamer. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, yikes.
I could see that being in a secret award show thing. You can't risk getting the illegals deported, though, so that would never happen during the Oscars.
Yeah, that was just a really funny clip. Now, the last clip I have for you was possibly the best moment from the Oscars. Now, I'm only guessing because I didn't watch it either, but this was a really good speech from Jessie Buckley.
You, Fred, I love you, man. I love you. You're the most incredible dad. You're my best friend, and I want to have 20,000 more babies with you. I do. I do. And Isla, my little girl who is 8 months, who has absolutely no idea what's going on and is probably dreaming of milk. But this is kind of a big deal. And I love you and I love being your mom, and I can't wait to discover life beside you. Chloe and Maggie, to get to know this incandescent woman and journey to understand the capacity of a mother's love is the greatest collision of my life. It's Mother's Day in the UK today. So I would like to dedicate this to the beautiful chaos of a mother's heart. We all come from a lineage of women who continue to create against all odds. Thank you for recognizing me in this role. This is the greatest honor. I can't even believe it.
That was an excellent speech. You could see and feel her emotion. In 2020, Michelle Williams won an award and thanked her right to choose. She thanked the fact that she was able to have an abortion. On the other hand, Jessie Buckley thanked her husband, her family, and her pure joy for her family and the gift of being a mother. That's a feel-good speech. Good for her.
And when Michelle and Jessie are both in their 60s, one of them will be alone and miserable, and the other will have a loving family around her. You can guess which is which. Being a mother is a good thing. The truth is, your family is your only lasting legacy in the world. The vast majority of people do not care what company you created or what you invented. Time moves on, and they will forget about you. But if you have a family to carry on your legacy, they will remember you. Stories of past generations get passed on, and people will always remember you for that. And as a mother, you take part in shaping the next generation of our country, and that is a good thing.
Yeah, and I want to point out, too, the look on her husband's face, and just you could tell how proud he was of his wife. And that right there, that is what it feels like to have a family and watch someone prosper and watch someone do well. It just, that sense of pride and joy that her and her husband both had for each other it was really nice to see that.
And how many times in the Hollywood elite world have we seen a celebrity go up on stage and say something they thought was nice, but was actually kind of an insult to their partner? It blows my mind. You know, you hear Will Smith is the perfect example. How many times has Jada Pinkett Smith said she really, really loved Tupac? That's quite the insult to your husband to say, you kind of came in second. You're lucky he died, because if he didn't, I'd probably try and be with him. But he's not here, so you're a good consolation prize. Does that make you feel good?
No, not at all. I will say this speech, it reminded me of, I don't remember exactly which award show it was, but it was the speech from Matthew McConaughey where he's talking about who his heroes are. For anyone that hasn't seen that clip, that is a really good clip. That's a really good speech. And like he talks about himself and the kind of person that he wants to be, and he talks about his family, his wife, his daughters. Like, that's the kind of speech that people really want to see at these award shows. Don't get up and grab that microphone and start talking about politics. Thank the people that mean something in your life. Not the people who are watching on TV, not the people who don't mean anything and that you don't even talk to. Talk about the people who actually matter and thank those people instead.
Yeah, completely agree, because the people who don't matter, will move on from you the moment it is convenient.
Yeah, I think you can really learn a lot about a person based on what they say when they're at the top of the mountain and the people they talk about and the things that they talk about when they're at the top of the mountain and they're accepting an award or something like that. It's like, it always makes me think of when you are watching hockey and the team wins the Stanley Cup. Like, you can tell the things that really matter. And so, like, one of the main things that sticks out to me, and you as a Capitals fan will appreciate this, was TJ Oshie talking about his father when the Capitals won the Stanley Cup. That, you can tell that is true character. Instead of him talking about stuff that didn't matter, he talked about his dad.
Yeah, family was important to him. And in something I know you'll recognize, Denny Hamlin just won a NASCAR race a couple months after his dad died in a house fire. And the moment he mentioned his dad, he got choked up and started to cry. His parents meant that much to him. That's the important thing in life, is family.
Yeah, the other thing I'll mention about that, too, is you can see when he's doing the interview and his daughter comes running up, and he, like, stops the interview to greet his daughter. Like, you could tell where his priorities are, and that's what truly matters. All right, it is time for our blind ranking segment. I have a new category for you today, Matt, to mix things up a little bit. Now, we mentioned in the last episode that Joe Rogan was worried about the UFC White House event being a potential target for Iran. So that's where I got the inspiration for this one. So, Matt, Dana White has given you 2 tickets to the UFC White House event. I'm sure you're not worried about Iran attacking it. I think you'll be pretty safe. Blind rank these personalities based on who you would give the other ticket to and who you would want to sit next to you.
I'm just going based on who I would have the most fun with, so let's go.
Yep. And just to help you out a little bit, not every name is a politician, but you will know exactly where their politics land. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, Matt, your first name is Donald Trump Jr.
Trump Jr. No strong opinion either way, so I'm going to ballpark it and go 3.
3, okay. This next one, I think you're going to like this next one. John Bones Jones.
Heck of an athlete. Greatest fighter of all time, in my opinion.
You know he's a Trump fan.
He is. His whole family is, and I don't know if you know this, but his brothers played in the NFL. Some off-field issues, I'm going to put him at 2. I think we would have more in common than we would expect. And I think we could have a great conversation. So 2.
Yeah, I think he would be a really good person just to sit next to and hear what he has to say, like, about the fight and stuff. All right, your next one is James Tallarico.
Well, he'd probably tell me how everyone taking part in the event should be in jail. Yeah. I have to go 5.
You could learn about how there's 6 genders and how God was non-binary.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we couldn't just enjoy the sporting event. It would be about other things.
He would give you a sermon during the fight.
Yeah, and he'd tell me how there's 6 genders and how we should enjoy and love every illegal person in the world and every criminal who's ever done anything wrong. I'm going to go 5.
All right. Number 5 for James Tallarico. Next up, you have Hunter Biden.
I believe I have 1 and 4 open, so that's got to go number 4.
I think you got to go 4.
I mean, Hunter would bring the crack cocaine with him, so
he would, but
and then we can have a great game and see which one of us is better at pretending we don't know where the white powder came from.
All right. Hunter Biden at 4.
Who's my number 1?
Your number 1 is Colby Covington.
Oh, I'm good with that. We would have a great conversation. He could help me understand the fight game a little more, and we would have a great political conversation in our downtime. Nailed that list.
Yep. I almost put Derek Lewis on here, but I decided to switch him out for Colby Covington.
He would have gone number one as well.
Great post-fight interviews with him. All right, so you ended with James Tallarico at 5, Hunter Biden at 4, Trump Jr. 3, John Jones 2, and Colby Covington at 1. I honestly thought you would put John Jones at 1.
I like John, but there's some stuff away from the fight game that are concerning, so he may have some explanation for what happened, but I'd be happy to talk to him. I'd love to hear his side of it. I'd be happy to sit next to him at any event, UFC or not, and get to know him.
Yeah, I think you nailed the list, though, to be honest.
I would also be more than happy to sit next to Hunter Biden at any event. I'd love to know how the white powder got in the White House.
Yeah, you could just nudge him a little and be like, come on, man. How'd you get the cocaine in? Where'd it come from?
Yeah.
All right, everyone, that is it for episode 43 of the Republic Brothers podcast. If you're still listening, you're exactly who the podcast is for. Before you click away, hit the subscribe and follow button. New episodes drop every Monday and Thursday. If you agree or disagree with anything we talked about today, drop a comment and let us know. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.